Hello, hello. Welcome to the Brew from the Bothy podcast, episode number 12. My name is Fay. I'm coming to you from Cheshire in England. Fay, you live in England. It's been one of those fortnights where I'm not entirely sure that my brain is working properly. I don't quite know what's going on. You'll see when I take you through some of the projects, some of the epic muppet mistakes that I have made. My brain is not firing on all cylinders, but that's fine. I'll just live with it. Nope, go again. Hello, hello, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Brew from the Bothy podcast. So nice to have you here with me, having hopefully a little brew. If you haven't got a brew, feel free to stop me and go make one and come and join and have a cup of tea with me, although I'm on water because it's pretty nice weather here today. Hello, hello, I hope you are well. Quite a lot has happened in the last fortnight, so let me crack on and take you through it all. Let me start with what I'm wearing. I have purposefully put this on today because I did not make this, but it's a reference point for me. This is a lace weight cabled knitted jumper. This is something that I will never in my lifetime have the patience to knit. I like quite speedy projects. I like to move on and on and on and on to the next thing. I'm very like deadline focused, so I'm never going to knit this. But the amount of work in it is incredible. It's cabled all the way down the sleeves, around the cuff, even on the waistband. It's just amazing. And the reason I'm wearing it today is because yesterday I uploaded a kind of vlog post on buying second-hand yarns and where to buy them. And then I also touch a little bit on that in looking beyond yarn to purchase when you're in charity shops and vintage shops, because that's where I got this from. This came from a vintage charity shop in Barcelona called Humana, which was amazing, and I paid €15 for this jumper, which is just ridiculous. I think the knitter had never even worn it. It's unworn until I got my hands on it, but it was such a good bargain. So if you are looking for a more sustainable way of buying pre-owned yarns, that blog post is up, and I talk about online places like Vinted and Depop and Facebook Marketplace and eBay and Facebook groups. And then I also talk about the kind of in-store bricks and mortar elements of charity shops, thrift shops, scrap stores, and then other ways that you can maybe freely swap yarn with friends, unravelling items that are in good condition, and looking for things like this beautiful jumper in charity shops and vintage shops. So that's I'll link to it because it's both video and it's a blog post that I've pulled together. And then I also want to tell you about very timely, I have just put up a blog post on how to basically manage moths and make sure that you don't get them in your stash, and how you can prevent them, and what you should be looking for, how to identify the two types of moths that are most likely going to eat your stash and your woolens, and how you can manage them if you've got them in your stash. So I'll link to both sets of blog posts and videos because that one went live yesterday, in case that's information that is helpful to you. Right, let's dig on in to what I've actually been making. Just another quick one, sorry, actually, before I do that. I wanted to say thank you for the lovely comments last time about me wearing the pink. It really gave me a little confidence boost on colour. It's quite easy as you get older to like funnel yourself down into colours that you're really comfortable in, and I had so many nice comments about the pink that I was wearing that it's made me go to my wardrobe and pull this cone of yarn out. This is from New Lanark, which sadly I think is going to completely close down. I need to update myself, but it's old antique spinning machinery at New Lanark in Scotland, and they've decided, or they did decide, to shut down the spinning part of the operation, which is such a shame, but I got this a few years back. I was over there doing some research for an essay that I'm writing for Muppet Crochet magazine, which I now own. I'll link to that as well in case you're interested in New Lanark as a mill and what they do there. This is a 4-ply yarn, and it's a pretty awesome tweedy. It's got blips of blue in there. I think what you're not seeing properly on camera is that it also has little blips of yellow. Yeah, I don't think the camera is picking that up. There's definitely yellow in there as well. So your lovely comments have made me pull this out, and I'm going to make myself a jumper with this beautiful 4-ply yarn. Up until you telling me that I suited those brighter colours, I honestly was going to sell this because I was like, it's too bright, I'm not going to wear it. Says she who's now in like quite an acidy green jumper. But I wasn't loving the pink. So thank you, because I'm now going to try and reintroduce more of that colour into my wardrobe. Right, that bit done. Off the hook. Do you want to see what I have finished? I have one end to weave in. And this, do you remember I said it was going to be called my strata blanket? I don't know what's going on with my brain at the moment. I've got two patterns, one that is somebody else's and this one that I was working on, where I just made really silly mistakes. My mistake with this is this should have been a pattern that I had already written up that was called the strata blanket. And when I was looking at the pattern to remake it in this yarn, I saw a reference to waistcoat stitch and I was like, but it's the strata stitch pattern, I know what that is. It's herringbone half trebles and it's double slip stitches. I didn't use waistcoat stitch in that blanket. And it wasn't until I got to the very end of making this blanket that I realised I absolutely did use waistcoat stitch in that blanket, but because I didn't go back and read my own pattern properly, I completely duffed it up. So this is now not a strata blanket. This is now going to be called the Pebble Spotters blanket, which will make sense when I show you the photography when I've finished it all off. But it blocked out beautifully. It's actually now quite a decent sized lap blanket. So it's exactly the same striping sequence as my strata blanket, but just with 2 stitches and with, I put a different border on it. I ripped out the other border and put a different border on it because I thought it really can't be the same as strata, because I now have I've essentially created a whole new blanket design. So Pebble Spotter will be coming later in the year. I need to do a final little block on the rounds, and I need to now get it over to my tech editor, because it now definitely has to be tech edited because it's a whole new blanket. And this will be going out as a free blanket on my website. What I would say is have a little look at this border. Can you see that? Oh, I absolutely love, can I get that somewhere? Yeah, that's better. I love waistcoat stitch. I really love it. And I know lots of people don't enjoy it because it can be really tight. But I did a lot of work. I've done quite a lot of waistcoat stitch this year, and I did a lot of work on how to manage it so that it's an enjoyable stitch. And I'll link to those, again, I've got a video and a blog post, but I'll link to them because the thing that really makes a difference is the hook. And if you use the right hook, then the stitch is really manageable and it's a joy to make. And the fabric that you get out of it is dense but open, and I just love those little V's, and I love how they marry with the sideways V of the double slip stitch. So if you've tried waistcoat stitch in the past and really hated it, I implore you to have another little go at it and look at my hints and tips and then try it again, because it's such a lovely stitch. It's so pared back and beautiful. I just really enjoy it, but it's all in the hook. And if you're not going to read the blog posts, basically the hook needs to be pointy ideally a bamboo hook would do it. You need a really decent point to poke through the V, because in a waistcoat stitch you're going through the V, not underneath the 2 stitches at the top. So you need a really pointy hook. You also want quite a deep bowl on it, so that when you've poked through the V and done your yarn around hook, when you're pulling through, the deep bowl will pull the yarn through that V. That is the thing that makes all the difference. If you get the right hook and you're using the right hook size, waistcoat stitch is an absolute dream, because it changes all of your tension, because you're not there like, get in the stitch. You're not trying to stab it through. It will glide through with a pointy hook. I promise you, if you've hated waistcoat stitch in the past, that is the thing that makes the difference. Get a bamboo hook, even like sharpen it up with sandpaper if you need to, just to really get a fine point on it. That's what makes the difference. So I will be off photographing the Pebble Spotters blanket in a couple of weeks' time when I head down south. I'm going down and I'm hoping to photograph this on the beach at Worthing, which has got loads of beautiful pebbles on it. A lot of the beaches along that area, so Worthing, Brighton, all the way along that south coast, have got beautiful pebbles. So that's where I'm going to go and photograph it. But that is off my hook. This flew through and it really blocked out, so it's a much bigger blanket than it started off. And this will be given away at Christmas time. So, oh, that kind of makes me feel a bit icky. That's my first Christmas make. This is my first Christmas make, apparently. That means the sock knitting probably needs to commence fairly soon. My best friends always get socks. The whole family gets socks every Christmas. So maybe I need to get started with that. So yes, although I was doing that to try and get strata sorted, I now need to do a glow up for the strata blanket, which is the one with the macrame edging on it. I'll try and pop a photo up here for you. And now I have a Pebble Spotter blanket. So I'm not annoyed about that, because I have a whole new pattern, but it is not the job that I was trying to undertake, which was to do a pattern glow up for the strata blanket. Now I have a quick question. Can you help me? Within the pattern for the Pebble Spotter blanket, under yarn substitutes, previously I've just said you can use any other yarn with the same meterage with a similar blend, which is a bit of a get out clause. So one of the things that I've been doing with this pattern design is trying to go out and find yarns that I've held, that I've got in my stash, that I think would also be appropriate. And what I'm thinking, and I'd love to know if you think this is right or not, is that I would offer up 6 different other yarns I think would work really well for that pattern under 3 different price brackets. So like high end, mid-range, budget. And so like really lovely blends of yarn. I'm never going to be out pushing acrylic. Acrylic does not need any support from me for people to buy it. I'm just not doing that. I'm way more animal fibre, natural fibre. That's my wheelhouse. So I would be looking at different yarns and suggesting 6 different yarns that come under that natural or animal fibre lineup. 2 for high end, 2 for mid-range, 2 for budget. Is that useful? Like, I'd love to know. I've seen other designers suggest other yarns, but not with the different price points in there. So if you know what your price point is, or roughly what you want to spend, then you would know where. And I'm thinking high end is like £20 plus per 100 grams. Mid-range is between 10 and 20, more likely between 15 and 10. And then budget is £10 and under, and some of the ones that I found are like really affordable. And I've added in things like Drops Charisma, which would work perfectly for the Pebble Spotter blanket. Is that useful? Or would you just go and do it in the yarn, and should I just stick to my get out clause of any yarn of a similar meterage with a similar blend? I'd love some feedback on that, please, if you don't mind. That would be really helpful. Right, off my needles. I just want to show you this quickly, just to show that I am still behind the scenes working on mohair swatches. So sheepy. I've just finished all of the blocks with the very dark wool and going through the 5 different shades of mohair, which has again kicked out the same results that I expected. I'll be able to talk a lot more about this, but I'm just highlighting this because in case you thought I'd forgotten about the mohair blog post and been sidelined with moth and secondhand yarn blog posts, I kind of have, because my brain wanted to do those shiny magpie things, but I'm still continuing with this. So I have loads more swatches. This is going to be a long-term project to be able to do it justice and talk about the mohair and the alpaca and the other blended fibres properly as a floof blog post, but I am continuing kind of behind the scenes to do all my swatches and pull together all the information that I think is relevant and helpful. So I haven't forgotten this. This work is still ongoing. It's just going to take a long time. It's taken a lot longer than I thought, but then I am doing a swatch for all the yarns in knit and crochet, and I need to block them. It's a lot of work, but it should be really comprehensive, thorough. It will be my usual standard of thorough. Right, slurp. What else do we have on my hook? Let me just reach over. Last time I showed you a shawl that I asked for some help on naming, and you came back trumps. I had lots of different suggestions, so thank you for those. At one point I think it was going to be called Get Puffed, which I quite liked because it was a bit like Get Stuffed, and now I think it's going to be called Pop or Not, because you can choose to wear the pop side or the knot side. I would be on the knot side, you know me, I'm like, keep it pared back, don't show off, and then every now and then I might be in the show off pop side. It probably looks like I haven't added anything to it, but I really have. I'm just at that point where a row takes a lot more work because every other row takes a puff stitch, which is quite time consuming. I might have this finished today because the weather's good, and I've promised myself that when I've finished recording and got the podcast uploaded, I'm allowed to set up the umbrella outside. We've got like an outside settee. That sounds really bougie. It's quite bougie actually. I'm going to be allowed to sit out there with cups of tea and work on some designs and have some crochet time. So I'm going to get this off my hooks today and maybe blocking today. It looks like it's quite a deep one skeiner at the moment, like it wouldn't go around your neck, and that's because it wouldn't go around your neck right now, not like it would be more neckerchief. But when I block it, I'm going to block some serious length into it to shorten up this V. I will give blocking instructions for the measurements to pin out to for this, so you could do the same, but it's getting blocked lengthways to pull it out and make it longer. So this will be off the blocks. This needs to be ready for September, tech edited, ready to go 3rd week in September for Yarn Deal. So don't expect to hear anything about this until I've finished it all off. I might show it off next time, but then I will talk about it again properly when I have the pattern ready to release. Pop or Not, that's it, decided. Thank you so much for helping me name this one, the pop or Not shawl. I like how it kind of rolls and it does what I wanted, which is that you can be subtle or you can not. Pop or Not does that. Right, that one done. What else have we got? So, not quite on my hook, but coming onto my hook shortly. Let me show you some yarn that has come in, because quite a lot is going on over at Fay and I Designs at the moment. I'm trying not to think about it all, but I think I might have all of my commissions pretty much sorted for next year. I can't really tell you more about it yet, but this yarn has come in as a trial on the yarn for lots of commissions. And oh my word, it's so beautiful. That was very Scottish. It was so beautiful. This is Crochet Deluxe Organic Wool, and it is unbelievably soft, but look at the twist on that. I know that this is just going to work on a hook and needles beautifully. Let's have a little look at what the makeup is. It is 50 grams is 150 meters, so classic sport weight, and it is 100% merino wool. It's unbelievably soft. It's got a decent price point. I think I paid about £6 for this for 50 grams, so that would be 100 grams of 100% organic merino for about £12, £13. That's a really good deal. So I'm testing this for some other submissions, but I thought whilst I've got it in, I'm gonna try it with the matching floof. This is one of the really good things. It's a bit like the Knitting for Olive yarn in that they will do like a nice yarn that can be paired with mohair floof. Crochet Deluxe do the same, but Crochet Deluxe do more organic stuff, which I love. So I've got these two to pair together, and the reason I've got them is because Lina magazine are going to do another version of the Crochet magazine. They did one, it came out earlier this year in springtime, and they've said that they're going to do another because the first one was so successful. And I was thinking about this, and I think one of the reasons it's successful is because we no longer have Muret, and today I have my Muret mug to lament the fact that we no longer have Muret magazine, which was solely dedicated to crochet. And so Lina are able to step into that void, and one of the reasons that it might work really well for them is because they already distribute so many knitting books into local yarn shops, into online resellers. So for a local yarn shop to just add on a crochet title to an existing order is much easier, because they're maybe not paying a lot of extra postage compared to if they were then signing up to a specific crochet mag like Muret, then that's one order for one thing. So in terms of economies of scale, it will work better for a shop to be able to buy a crochet title at the same time as they are buying knitting titles and other crafting titles. So I'm like a little bit fingers crossed that maybe Lina will occupy that space that Muret had. I think, and I mean that just in terms of a dedicated crochet magazine, I think the aesthetics and the designs are very different. But I'm kind of hopeful that we will still have a dedicated crochet magazine. I'd love it if they kept it going. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because they are currently looking for submissions for the second version of the Crochet Lina magazine. I'm going to pop the details, the link out to it in the drop down box, because the deadline is the 17th of August, 11 days. Some of you might have designs that you want to put in and you've never designed before. I encourage you to put a design in and give it a try and see how it works for you. Lina will be a bit of a tighter deadline. I've spoken to other people that have had patterns in Lina, and it's a bit more full on in process, and the timelines are really tight. But I'll put the submission form there anyway in case you want to have a look at it. I'm also going to add the submission form for Woolly Good Edinburgh. I have just put out a call for submissions for a piece of neckwear, one knit, one crochet for their show for next year. The deadline for that is the 31st of August. So again, you might have a design that would work for that. So maybe a shawl or a cowl or a scarf. The generic theme is community. That's what the design needs to represent. I'm going to put in a submission. Of course I am. It's a Scottish show. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm Scottish. And I really like what Woolly Good are doing as a yarn show. I think it's phenomenal. So I'll add both of those links. But if you've got any queries about designing and putting in design submissions, hit me up in the chat. I've done loads and I will gladly help you. If you've never done it before or you're lacking a bit of confidence in that, let me know and I will gladly help you and kind of talk you through what it is that I do, and I can show you examples. I would love for us to have more budding crochet and knitwear designers out there. The people at the top of their game get a lot of space, they get a lot of column inches, and I would love to see some other designers coming in and through. So yeah, let me know if you've got a design that you're thinking about, or if I can help you with how I do a submission. I'd love to be encouraging more people to put in crochet and knitwear designs. So not on my hook yet, but will be on my hook, is a liner submission using these two beauties, and a crochet submission which I also think is going to use a floof and a not floof, but in a very different way, in a way that I don't think I've seen anybody else do. So, but I can't talk about that because it's a submission. And you may never hear me talk about these things again if I am not successful. This bit will just be ignored. Right. On my needles, however, let's stretch over again. Let's show you. I said last time that I was going to cast on to do the Knox top, which is this top here, which is in the Summer Knits by Sari Nordland. And I have. I said I was going to do it, and so I've done it. Let's have a quick look. I'm at the point where... I'm at the point where I've created a yarn spider. Wow, Faye. Basically, this is the back. What way around is that? This is the front, and this is how much top I've got. The back is ready for me to join in the round. The front is not. I need to do quite a lot more work on that, but I should almost be at the point where I'm splitting from the sleeves. I've got, I think, maybe about 10-15 more rows to do. Now, one of the things that I have been told by a few people is that the Sari Nordland patterns quite often don't necessarily have a deep enough yoke, so I've got an eye on that for this, where I want to make sure that because this isn't yoked, but the arm depth is enough before I join in the round, because at that point then that's my cut-off point. So if I need to add more centimeters in, now is the time to do it, because I really hate it when tops are right up in my oxters. It makes me overheat. I find it really uncomfortable. I run hot, and nothing will burn me up more quickly than having wool right up in my armpits. Like it really gives me the ick. So that's one of the things that I need to keep an eye on. And a bit like my strata not strata blanket, I haven't completely duffed this up, but I did all the maths and I worked out that I needed to make a size 5, and then for some reason when I was working on the back I jumped up to a size 7. I don't know why. I mean, on the upside, this yarn that I'm using and my stitch gauge was denser than the pattern asked for, which is why I had to fiddle with numbers. But I don't know how I jumped from a 5 to a 7. I don't know what, like, I really don't know what's going on with my brain the last couple of weeks. Never mind. It'll be lovely and usable, I'm pretty sure. I just won't block it as aggressively as I might have done previously. I'm really pleased with how this wool is working up. This is Woolly Knits 4-ply, and it is quite a light 4-ply. I think it's 497 metres per 100 grams. It's going to be very warm. I know this is meant to be a summer knits, but I'm not so sure it will be a summer knit. I think this will be a winter under jumpers, like as an extra layer. I'm hoping, it doesn't look like it, but I'm hoping that I might have this done by 2 weeks' time. We will see. That's if I don't have to rip it all out back because I just knitted completely the wrong size. I know it happens to other people as well, it's not just me. I just lost the plot with it, I think. I've literally left myself a note that says Knox top, and then I've written an arrow and it just says idiot beside it. Well done. That just leaves me with showing you a few other yarns that have come in. I've got a lot of yarn coming in at the moment, partly because of the work that I want to do on yarn substitutions. So that what that means is I've got a lot of single balls, single skeins of yarn, but in lots of different interesting blends with companies that I maybe have never worked with before, because I want to be able to offer up different yarn solutions for people beyond the standard stuff that I tend to gravitate towards. So two of the things that I've had come in recently, I ordered this floof from Millie at Tribe Yarns. She's one of the few people in the UK that stock Creo Deluxe from the mohair silk. And to just make up for add extra, because I was paying for postage, I also saw that at Tribe she had host yarn. Now, back in the COVID times, people were losing themselves over host yarn. It was everywhere. Everyone was talking about host yarn cones, about how nice it was, and I just couldn't justify it at the time. We were in the middle of moving house, we were downsizing, everything was going on, and I just didn't jump on the host yarn bandwagon. And so I thought maybe it's finally time to have a little look at it, because it is actually quite affordable. It's 100% wool, 50 grams is 287 meters. So again, it's it's like a light 4-ply, heavy lace weight really. And it's made DK, so it's Danish, isn't it? And I got two colours that I thought, even if I've only got 100 grams, I can still make something from that. So I will at some point in the future be giving host yarn a little try, just to see what it does, what it's like, because that's kind of in the mid-range price bracket, which is sometimes the harder bit to find. It's really easy to find high-end, it's easy to find bargain yarns. It's the bit in between that can be a little bit more difficult. And also, when I put the call out asking for recommendations for other yarns, host yarn is one of the recommendations that came back. The other one that I got in, this is another level soft, that I wanted to try is Kinross 4-ply, and this is superfine lamb's wool. And this is coming in at a really good standard 4-ply, so it's 205 meters per 50 grams, so 410, so really good 4-ply. This shade is called Scots Pine. It's so much more beautiful in the skein than it was on the website. And this is from We County Yarns, 100% wool, spun in Scotland by Todd and Duncan. Todd and Duncan, I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they do very high-end spun yarns for like the Scottish cashmere industry. I think they spin really beautiful, classy yarns. So I also got a little mini, because they do minis as well. I think they do little 10-gram pops too, and this is one is called Inverary. So I thought, again, yes, I've got kind of single skeins coming, 50 grams, and I think that is a 10-grammer. Maybe that's 20. No, it's maybe 20. I can still do something with that. That's a hat, or, you know, a pair of mittens or something. But look at those colours together. This one in particular, the Scots Pine, is just... I love it, I love it, I love it. So they've come in as well. And then I've also, I won't show you it because they get enough column inches. I bought a load of drops because I've never really used drops stuff before. So a load of different drops. So again, I can start recommending whether or not I think they would work for specific patterns. I really want to take the kind of yarn recommendation side of things to another level, and make sure that I'm offering decent recommendations and not just palming people off. So hence all these single skeins coming in, but they all have a purpose for me being able to highlight other brands, some smaller, some larger, and giving all of those like budget recommendations. I feel like I have completely whizzed through that because there were so many little bits. So sorry if it's felt a little bit hurried and a bit like all over the shop. Hopefully it's been all right. Yeah, that is me. Until 2 weeks' time. I can't believe that was half an hour's worth of recording, just over. In 2 weeks' time, I will be back. Who knows what with? Maybe I finish Knox Top. Something new needs to go onto my hooks, like a personal thing. I do have another blanket I need to do. Maybe that will be on, but it will be an Icelandic yarn, and it is still summer, so who knows? We'll see where that goes. Until a fortnight's time, I hope you have a really lovely summer next 2 weeks. If you're in summer, winter if you're in winter. Stop rambling. Time to go. Thank you. I'm waving.